We naturally lean into something, like one kind of profile quite strongly. And when we're in that role, it's not that we can't do the other things, but that particular role for us just requires less energy. Just feels more natural. It's less draining because it's our natural way of thinking and being and interacting.
We might very much sit in one style in a school environment and then sit in a different style in a personal environment or with friends. And that's okay. And for some of us, we might be listening along and thinking, oh, that is me. I am 100% that style. And for some of us, we might be listening along and you might really connect with and feel like I can dabble in each of the four styles. The second style is
visionary, someone who's exceptionally creative, innovative, and very much action focused.
Podclass acknowledges the true and traditional custodians of the land we meet on here today, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. We pay our respect to elders past and present and are grateful to be on this country.
So no one told you teaching was gonna be this way. Your lesson plans are jokes, your patience broke, you're feeling in disarray. It's like you're always stuck in report writing, when it hasn't been your day, your week, your month, or even your school year. But I'll be here for you
when the students start to riot.
I'll be here for you
even if your coffee's gone cold.
I'll be here for you 'cause you're there for them too.
Hello and welcome back to Podclass. This is the podcast if you are a teacher, a pre-service teacher, someone who works with young people, a parent. There is so much in here for anyone who works works with young people or has young people in their world.
In my opinion, just a citizen of the world.
If you are just a human.
In your humble opinion.
In my humble opinion, yes.
You were joined, that was Wil Masara. If you did not pick up on his voice, he is the CEO of Youth Leadership Academy Australia.
Quite opinionated.
My name is Skye and we are joined by my co-founder Amanda.
Hello.
And we are the co-founders of Youth Engagement Project. And today is the one about collaboration.
And the one about collaboration, we are going to be diving into and unpacking some different, I guess, maybe personality styles, approaches. I know for literally each and every one of us have done some kind of personality test at some point in our lives. And it's so natural. We all love learning more about us. And it's so funny when we do the test and it like pops up. It's like, you are a, if it's like an animal test.
I'm weirdly obsessed with
You
them.
are Hufflepuff.
Oh, you are an echidna.
I don't think you understand. Like, I measure once end of financial year. I do a little measurement and I track it over the years.
You do that with the Myers-Briggs one, right?
And I have like a spreadsheet year by year by year by year.
And weren't you sharing the other day that you've noticed that you're just becoming more and more of an introvert as you get older?
2018 was my peak at 83% extroverted. I'm sitting at about 40% right now.
Turns out the more people you hang out with, the less you want to hang out with people. Got it.
Did I just spend 2 weeks talking to no one in Indonesia? Yes, I did.
We love that for you.
We do, and we love it for your recharge and for your introvert stuff. So
That's why I'm a little bit talkative, actually. I've been interrupting. Anyways, going on.
So we have all done a personality test and we love learning about what it means for us. But what we also know is that through doing that test, we're acknowledging that we are unique and we are different to those around us. And this plays a big role in our profession as educators or in a youth organisation. The fact that we are unique and individual and distinctly different from many of our colleagues is sometimes the biggest blessing in the world and sometimes feels like the biggest challenge in the world.
Absolutely. But either way, we have to continue to work with all of these people.
Of course.
And it's also incredibly important that our workplaces are diverse, not just in, people in terms of culture, et cetera, but also in the way that we approach things, in our different skill sets, in our strengths and the things we have challenges with. This is also creating a really realistic landscape for our youth when we are modelling that with our colleagues, but also knowing that our young people also fit into lots of different categories. So they will naturally connect with some people, will be naturally challenged by others, and knowing that that's normal. But knowing how to deal with this comes with knowing ourselves first, how we are, how we operate, what we like, don't like, our strengths and challenges, and that helps us to better work with people in our space.
Yeah, and I really encourage you that as we go through these approaches to collaboration, think, number one, is this me? Does this most feel like me? And if it doesn't, who in my life does it feel like?
Great.
So what Skye and I have done is across a whole bunch of research, and we've looked at different leadership styles, we've looked at different personality styles, and we have come up with our 4 teaching styles that are, I guess, kind of showcased in our teacher quiz. If you haven't done our teacher quiz yet, we will pop it in the show notes, and feel free to do it at the end of this episode. What we are about to do is unpack each of those 4 styles, and exactly like Wil said, for each one, if we don't necessarily identify with it ourselves, we will 1000% have someone popping to mind for those strengths and maybe those challenges and how that shows up in our workplace, or maybe someone in our personal world. So we're going to go ahead and unpack each of those styles, and then we're going to look at how do we collaborate across styles.
Yeah.
Because what we know is that sitting in a silo of all one style of personality is not the fastest way to get where we want to go.
Exactly.
Nor the most entertaining.
Also true. So we have had just over 3,000 teachers now across Australia complete this quiz. Wow. And whether or not you're a teacher, you can still do it, because these kind of personality approaches or styles of being can kind of apply in lots of different workplaces. Yeah. We've just happened to word it specifically when you're working with young people or in a kind of school setting. So the first style is the style of the supporter.
Supporter.
We all have a supporter in our life.
We all have a supporter in our lives, and there are many supporters in schools. If you are a supporter, or you are thinking of someone who is a supporter, this person has some strengths and some characteristics that kind of lean into being a real natural team player. They're generally very calm people. They make everyone feel really welcome around them. They create a really warm, inclusive, supportive environment, both for colleagues and for their students. They are really great listeners. They're quite patient. They're very adaptable, very generous, typically very humble in their work. They really value teamwork and cooperation and personal growth. However, these people, like we all do, supporters have some challenges. So supporters may struggle with things like deadlines and meeting a deadline or an expectation in that space. And they're not typically very confrontational people. So if they can avoid confrontation or not have that difficult conversation or find another way around it, that is what they would typically do. So that is the general gist of the supporter profile.
And I know every single one of us is either like, if it's not ourselves, we are literally picturing a colleague or a family member or a friend, and we're like, oh, that is them. They are 100% a supporter. So the first style is supporter. The second style is
visionary. I think this is where I very much may sit as expected, as someone who's exceptionally creative. They're innovative and very much action focused. It's like, how do we get to that end goal as fast as possible? They're highly flexible, dynamic, and really open to learning, and have that open-minded approach to feedback, and really coachable, as well as they can see the potential in everyone around them. And I think that something that visionaries do really well is they bring other people along with that along to the party with them, of encouraging other people to think outside of the box. However, as we know, some of the challenges our visionary may face is our organisation skills may tend to be not very well. Amanda and Skye have had the absolute privilege to be able to travel around the country with me time and time again, and have seen my organisational skills.
We've seen the insides of his suitcases in hotel rooms, you know.
Oh yes, it's organised.
The joys.
Yeah.
The joys.
That's why I said it was a privilege, okay? But we also have a tendency to avoid deadlines, just like a supporter, and especially with less creative tasks and things that I said it before, siloed, boring. If it's boring, visionary ain't come along to the party.
Nice.
So the second one was a visionary.
Yes. And our visionaries are so essential in our spaces for having that vision, holding that vision, and supporting us to move towards it, you know, through igniting that potential in their teams.
And often, like, we know, you're probably thinking of so many visionaries right now, and what you'll notice about every single visionary is they have a team of supporters holding them together.
Yeah, the visionary has the vision. Yeah. The supporter has the steps to get there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So the second style is the visionary. The third style teaching style is the strategist. And some of the character traits and strengths of the strategist are they ensure people and systems are aligned for success, and they are highly organized. They are methodical, analytical, and they have a very quality-centered approach, seeking high quality, high outcomes. They excel in planning and presenting complex material in a structured way, and they foster a deep understanding of their subjects in their students. So they're really not interested at all in a shallow conceptual conversations, looking for that deep learning and deep understanding. And as with all of our styles, there are some challenges that come along with the strategist. And those tend to be, this is, what for all of us who are picturing a strategist, we know this in them, a tendency to overanalyze or overthink. And this can lead to cautious and sometimes quite slow moving action from them because they're seeking to be highly organized and to get it right. And also they might struggle with taking that kind of fast-paced action due to being highly reflective and considered in everything they do.
I'm just laughing because I just think of my partner who is such a strategist, and we're not engaged, but he has raised the question a few times, so what kind of rings are you into, or what kind of thing? When we talk about slow moving,
he's raised the question. He's raised the question
on this podcast.
Oh my God, it's so funny.
Often, that's a weird way to say it. He proposed. He raised the question.
No, he hasn't proposed.
proposed.
He's just been like, so what do you like?
About it.
Anyway, so funny.
We're not calling anyone out here, but all of us know a strategist in our lives, and bless them, they know what they're doing. They will take us on the journey, but yes, not always making those fast-paced decisions.
No, but when they make a decision, it's legit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And our last style is the style of the leader. This is probably the most I kind of fall, I think, into leader, visionary is I kind of sit between the two, but leader calls to me probably a bit more. So a leader's strengths or characteristics, they are people who naturally guide and empower people. They prioritise clarity and being really clear on the goals that we're trying to achieve. They're quite decisive, independent, very results focused and getting results. Quite confident, determined. They can often be people that are organising activities or mobilising a group to get something done. They do set quite high expectations for themselves and others, but typically with really clear objectives in mind. However, weaknesses and challenges, they can struggle with patience, which I know is
that you?
Yeah, it really rings true to me. It really rings true. I do struggle with something that I have to work on actively, particularly when other people maybe can't keep up with the fast-paced nature that a leader often works at. So that can feel really frustrating. And off the back of that, their other challenge is then reminding themselves that the need to empower other people and use their strengths. Just because you can do something doesn't mean that you should.
Yeah.
Someone else may have even a better skill set in that area, and empowering them to tap into that as a leader is really important.
It's so interesting because I know you're probably in my brain, I've thought about, yes, I'm obviously more dominant in the visionary space, but I'm also very much leaning in different spaces as well. I resonate with a lot of them. Maybe the more weaknesses, I'm I'll tick every one of them boxes. And we know that our personality types are dynamic and they can change and they can evolve and they will change as they need to based on the situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, we might very much sit in one style in a school environment and then sit in a different style in a personal environment or with friends. And that's okay. And, for some of us, we might be listening along and thinking, oh, that is me. I am 100% that style. And for some of us, we might be listening along and you might really connect with, I guess, how I feel, which is I really feel like I can dabble in each of the four styles. And, if I need to mobilize a group and really have something happen with a large group of people and I really align with leader. And then, if something needs deeply planning, I really align with the strategist. And, if I'm with a group of friends, I really align with supporter. And so we can kind of, as Wil said, we can shape shift. I guess from hearing the different styles, the most important thing to understand is that in our schools, in our organisations, we are all different and yet we need every style.
Absolutely. And we don't move towards change in education and all of these things without every single person playing their role. Like every single one of these, you know, whether you're a visionary, a strategist, a supporter or a leader, our students need you in their world and to make a school community function. And I will say on the idea of jumping between them, yes, I totally agree with you. I would say that we naturally lean into something like one kind of profile quite strongly. And when we're in that role, it's not that we can't do the other things, but that particular role for us just requires less energy, just feels more natural. It's less draining because it's our natural way of thinking and being and interacting.
Yeah. And interestingly for me, when I think about what my natural role is, it's easiest to self-identify looking at the challenges.
Yeah.
And which challenges I'm most aligned with.
Is that our negativity bias? I don't know. And they're not, challenges aren't like a negative thing.
No.
It's just an acknowledgement that there are some things naturally we do have to work on. And when we're aware of them, it makes like our students' lives, our colleagues' lives, our own life so much easier when we know how to move through those challenges too.
And so we might, you know, be a leader who's quite fast-paced and likes decision-making and likes mobilising and getting things done. And we might work really closely with a strategist who is maybe a slower pace and highly considered. And so, and that could be a point of frustration at times. And so
they're also the people who protect us as well.
Absolutely.
And protect our organizations, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, you know, and so this is why this is the one about collaboration, because we need every style. And so it's about acknowledging we need every style and bringing compassion and empathy and a strategy, which we're about to unpack, to those moments that get frustrated. Because just through being different, we will get frustrated.
Yeah.
How do we deal with it?
And we need everyone. We've said that. We need everyone. So we need to understand how this works. So this is brought to you by our dear friend. She's a great friend of Wyla, great friend of Her name is Sarah Rowe. She's a psychologist we're very fortunate to work with. She's got a little strategy that is called NAC, which she uses to help identify emotions, but also just to be with people. So NAC, a NAC without the K, so NACK is what we are looking at.
A NAC without the K, then you just said...
Oh, like a knick-knack would have a K at the front of it. This is the English teacher in me. Just ignore me.
Were you confused? Okay, the N goes for notice. Notice what you notice, and there is no need to comment.
So that's the facts. The N is notice when we're frustrated.
Yeah.
Great. So we're feeling frustrated. The A stands for accept. So that is to accept what is happening and accept the fact that we are innately wired with different approaches, and that is okay. Just because we believe something or we lean into a certain style doesn't make it right and doesn't make it better.
Yes. The third is the C, which is curious, stands for curious. And that's all about just getting curious. If we can ask questions, if we can lean and learn, lean into connection and learn about what's going on, we are obviously going to have a much better outcome for both ourselves and the people that we're working with.
And the K, which is present, stands for kind. Present at the end stands for kind. And that is just to, along the journey, be kind to ourselves and be kind to each other. As these frustrations rise, it's so easy to rush to that, I guess, you know, that flow of emotion where we can really, you know, at times damage relationships. And so through using NAC, what we can do is we can notice, accept, get curious and be kind and build relationships through the frustrations and acknowledge where we have each other's backs versus where we maybe have different approaches.
So they have been the 4 different kind of teaching styles or approaches that naturally come out. So we have the visionary, the strategist, the leader and the supporter. If you don't know what your type is, feel free to jump over to our website. We'll also link it in show notes so you can do that teaching style quiz. And when we do feel ourselves becoming frustrated, maybe when we are out of alignment or we're seeing things differently to our students, to our colleagues, we can lean into NAC, NACK.
This was the one on collaboration. We will see you next week.
We've been
See
Podclass.
you then. Bye-bye.
I'll be here for you, 'cause you're there for them too.
Thanks so much for tuning into Podclass. If you've enjoyed this episode, we would adore it if you could go on to Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you listen to your podcasts, and leave us a review. 5 stars would be lovely. We would love to get this podcast into as many ears as possible so we can help and support as many people as possible who help young people. And if you're not already doing so, please go along to Instagram and follow us at podclass.aus.